A quick orientation of some of the major areas of my learning, so that when you first log on, you can navigate around reasonably comfortably. If you're not already viewing this in Dashboard, it's worth changing to Dashboard. This is the view, and to do that, you just go to Options, Theme, and just make sure that you're viewing in a dashboard format. It just slightly moves where it slightly alters the layout of it, just so we're all talking about the same thing. So on the dashboard, this area here is a good area to start with, and this has shortcuts to some of the main bits. First of all, if I just have a quick look down here at School, now School is the area that only the administrator can alter and edit. This is the area in which the administrator can put information, resources, stuff that's going to be visible to absolutely everybody who logs onto the system, whether that be students, teachers and parents. Most users won't have access to edit stuff here, so anything they want in this area will have to go through the administrator. Here's a good button up here. This is the home button, and I think you can guess where that one takes you. Under School, the next area to be aware of is this one, Classes. Now Classes, this is where the information that's taken from CMIS automatically populates all of your teaching groups. So any teaching groups that you have listed on CMIS, this is where they should come. They should be already populated. And these are basically areas where you can put files, resources. These would be things that would be specific to that actual class. You've got various options here. These can be viewed as just a file area, or they can be actually viewed as a website, but that's a sort of separate issue. So these are pre-populated stuff to do with individual classes. Go back home. The next one is Learning Spaces. Now Learning Spaces, they can be created by any teacher, and Learning Spaces are going to be predominantly department areas, like here for example we've just set up a music one. Every department will have a learning space, and within that it can be as vast as you want it to be. Once again, they can be viewed as just folder structures. If I just go into here quickly, you can just view it as the files. So just full of resources, and this can obviously be as big as you want inside, TARDIS-like, but it can also be viewed as a website. Now this might be slightly down the road, but it's slightly nicer to look at, and you can give your pupils access to all your information and resources, but from a slightly more viewer-friendly website view. So for example here, here's a music one, and within it you can allow them access to resources. You can put in things called file browsers. Here's an example down here. So all that is really, it's showing you a folder, but it just gives you access to it through the website. So those are learning spaces, predominantly sort of academic, subject-based things, but that is up to individual schools to set up. Teachers can also set up learning spaces. They can be opened up to everybody, or probably more handily, they can be opened up to specific groups of people. So for example, if I had an orchestra, I would only open it up to those people involved, and therefore only those guys would see it, so it would just avoid everything becoming too cluttered. So that's Classes, School and Learning Spaces. The next one down is Friends Groups. Now Friends Groups, to be honest, are exactly the same creature as a learning space. However, it's just given a different title to try and differentiate it a little bit from the to the more academic learning space. You can do exactly the same things with both, and the difference is pupils can also set up friends groups. So they could set up an interest group, a hobby group, or it could be something obviously tied into the curriculum. But pupils can create those themselves, as can teachers. The content library here just gives you access to some of the other things that are available through My Learning. For example, just as an example, you've got a YouTube browser here. The benefit of this YouTube browser is it doesn't have any of the tags, it doesn't have any of the comments on, which if you tend to be browsing in a classroom situation, can obviously can give you a nasty surprise up on the whiteboard. So if I just do a search, for example, for guitar, you get the same stuff as you would through normal YouTube, but what you haven't got is the tags that come with it. You just actually get the video itself without any of the stuff that would perhaps put you off underneath. So it's a little bit safer for use in the classroom. So this is one way of accessing these quite important areas. Another way is actually along these buttons at the top here. I've just run through these quickly. If you want, when it comes to classes, learning spaces, friends groups, if you want to do some managing, and by that I mean creating new groups or editing members, this is one easy place to do it from. So if I wanted to edit the learning spaces, this is where you can do different things about it. Members, what files are in it, and the various options. This is where, for example, you might want to decide whether or not to run it as a website or just as a folder structure. So that's the managing for classes, learning spaces, and friends groups. Your files area, which is also mentioned down here. The files area, my files, is exactly what it says. It's your repository of stuff. This is where you can upload things to. This is private to you, but you can repurpose any of the stuff you put in here. You can use in other documents and other areas of the system, but this is private to you. So that's the files area. Just going on the important ones for now. Communicate is where you will go for your messages. You'll have probably noticed messages does pop up. Your most recent messages will pop up on your dashboard. But if you want to go to the full messaging area, that's here through Communicate. This is also where you gain access to the chat room function if you want to decide to use that one. Under the Learning menu, Courses is, I would say, a slightly more advanced feature of My Learning that possibly it's worth getting to know the basics before you get into. But when you get into your courses a bit later on, this is where you will access them from. So Learning and Courses. Courses have a lot more of the more advanced assessment tools. If I just whiz into this one very quickly, you can see Courses has all these extra modules which you can use. Okay, so it can be very in-depth. It's good for tracking pupils, keeps records. It's very good for assessment. And finally, across the top there, which we mentioned earlier on, was the options, where you can edit your own settings, your own theme, if you choose to, or you can create an auto login to go on your desktop. The main other thing I think you could do with being aware of, down the bottom, very useful, is the support icon down here. Now there's a whole library of useful help videos, and these can be accessed down here. They're actually produced by My Learning, and here we go. And we've got it's basically takes you to a YouTube channel browser, but they've got the videos put into different categories. If, for example, you want to know about courses, this is the way to start here. You've got 22 videos there, which will take you through all the different aspects of courses and give you a really good overview. Okay, so that's the basically where the most important things are, which should give you a good place to start.